take pride in satisfying every customer's financial needs.
Introducing the future of hassle-free and seamless financial transaction. The Una Wallet app, empowering you to effortlessly manage your money anytime, anywhere. With the Una Wallet app, you can now enjoy branchless banking, wallet-to-wallet transfer, wallet-to-cash, and bank cross-border payments, deposit at a bank, and withdraw from any Una branch. Get ready to experience the ultimate banking convenience with the Una Wallet app. With just few taps on your phone, you can effortlessly add funds, withdraw, and send money to your loved ones. The Una Wallet app also provides a detailed history of your transaction, making it easier to track your expenses. So, what are you waiting for? Download the Una Wallet app today on Play Store or App Store and say goodbye to hassle of traditional banking. Uno Forex Bureau Limited, delivering much more than money.
Okay, ñu dalal leen fii si suñ tey programme bi lan la di constitution bi want bi show yi constitution bi want la de waaye nag constitution haka yëpp si la bokk si constitution bi want la waaye tey dañ ne di Gambia bi want ndax Gambia bi decide na ndax dañu waajaat defaraat toog yi ndax ñu decide at loolu am na solo tey ñu dellu si fii waat suñ studio bi tey on Monday pour waxtaan si li nga xam ne mooy xew-xewi réew mi xam ngeen ne last week the Republic Mustapha Keydaba ak teamam bi ñu ngi génne a bombshell report on the disposing of the former President Jammeh's assets man dama ko dee ooyee assets of the Gambia because honestly we all know ne President Jammeh assets yooyu it was taken from the Gambian people. It was put on his name but it was the Gambian people's assets. So how they were disposed of, the procedures of what happened, obviously the conflict of interest and other issues, the report exposed a lot of all of those issues. And I call him the anti-corruption expert, Marr Nyang, the founder and executive director of Gambia Participate. Marr, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fatwa.
Tey moom nag nekkuloo di reede tey dafa mel ni da nga serious de.
Well, foog ma ne dëkk bi tollu nañ fi nga xamante ne dañoo ree because lu nekk di xew dafa tey xel ba pare ma soona tamit.
Da nga soona foofu laa bëgg a dooree man damay eewu rek ma gis la fii naka la ooyee ma gis ay neta yaa yow daal depuis Thursday yaa ngi ci police station si nelawuloo yaa ngi maa call every second Fatou Baar yéen moom yéen man moom maa ngi woon suma kër nag I was home I was monitoring my entire team was out every single thing loo gis kër Fatou maa ko post I could not even lift my feet up suma kaw lal bi dama toogoon rek teg téléphone ak laptop si but it was a tough Thursday Friday Saturday gis naa la yaa ngi si police station si biir guddi I saw your pictures am na yoo xam ne sax duma la dee mën a xamee how did that go naka ngeen dundee Thursday bu xale yi génnee pour laaj for accountability but balaa loolu dama gis nga njëkk a post nga ñoo catalogal every anti corruption application boo xam ne Gambia ni def nañ ko si police yi dañ ko deny waaye any other things didn't go accept, especially political but every anti-corruption permit when apply, you reminded us that ñu dooree foofu balaa ñoo dem si xale.
No, definitely, because so holy 2018 bagay andi woon Occupy Westfield. Occupy Westfield they were to protest against the unreliability of electricity supply. And yaakaar naa time boobu noonu joxoon nañ leen permit. Foog ma ne jox nañ leen permit at the time.
joxuñ leen woon no.
You deny leen. Just a year after government mu ñëw office. nga xool tamit dafa doy moom jox na leen woon permit. waaye nga xool ban commencé di def boobu noonu tamit Gambia participate fekk anti-corruption bill bi. ñu ko doon delay. ñu apply for a permit just to go and then put pressure on National Assembly so they can prioritize the bill. The IGP then said no. Right? Says last year about the corruption and the inefficiency of the ferry services. You know, no. This year, Gala ñu génna ñu ne demanding for transparency nga ne no. Right? So sun toogee ñu ne fii dëkki luwa la, Gambia is governed by law, but everyone is equal in the eyes of the law. You're all equal before the law. So if politicians are holding rallies and you are giving them permit and they're mobilizing thousands of people, blocking the roads, causing noise everywhere, you're giving those people permit, but you cannot give less than 50 people permit to gather somewhere else and speak and deliver their their petition to any other authority within 1 hour. You said, no, that's not going to happen. So this is the reason why, I'm sorry to say, people do take the law in their own hands in many countries because they see the politicization and weaponization of these laws, right? We all should be treated equally. And I was saying this, right? If you're doing a road show today, right? You're advertising for either an upcoming event or you're doing a promotion, you're using loudspeakers. The same Public Order Act also did mention that before you actually use voice amplifier within this greater Banjul area, you need a permit. Do those people get permit? Do the police go after them?
Again and every weekend you get a gam with loudspeakers, but you don't see police going after those things. And the Public Order Act and I think we need to look at this Public Order Act itself, because under the new Public Order Act is unconstitutional. Because, for example, for now, I'm not very sure, but I think you need to have a PA system. So the PA system apply for a permit. But in certain cases, protest there is no PA system. Assembly la rek te gis nañ sax boy yi mom sax ñom day wax ne dañoo protest. Waaye fiñ leen fekk doora guñ sa protest 11 lañ waxante. Ñom 10 lañ demoon toog di xaar seen nit ñi police yi ñëw seen kaw daanu seen kaw bii du first time. Police yi 3 years jot na ñom ñoo leen joxoon permit pour ñu protest. Balaa seen time yi protest jot ñu ñëw daanu seen kaw arrest leen cause commotion. Fok ñuy wax instances yi num day xewé and the role the police are playing, because loolu dafa am solo.
So gis nga this is the reason why police they cause a lot of insecurity in different parts of the world. If you remember SARS in Nigeria, right? But guy don't brutalize the extort monies from Nigerians, right? Nigerian end SARS. It was the SARS, and then people were very angry with the system because of the police, the action of the police. So wholly the same thing in countries like the US, and then you name it in many African countries and Western countries. The same thing Senegal, not long ago, right? The politicians have their banter and they weaponize the police to brutalize and kill, because that's what they did. They killed young people, and that's the reason why youth came out, right? They were calling for accountability, and that's not going to happen. And then that actually, we know what the consequences were. Now as well, here, we are calling for accountability. There was a mess. We all know that there was a mess. The youth wanted to call for accountability, right? But then there is corruption. You should be going after them as a police institution. But you cannot say, okay, this is a country of law. We know that, and we respect that, right? But apply the law equally the way you apply the laws to those that come out and call for accountability to the same people that will come out and then defend the government or even make derogatory statement or in fact insult a whole village, and then you say, I'm going to invite those people for questioning, and then you leave them. But then previously you were able, someone speak their mind, right? Less of a security threat than what was said during the Masemba election, and then you brought that person, and then you said the person was going to be questioned, and the person almost spent I think the person spent the night there, and that was Dr. Sise. The whole world came out. I mean, the whole country came out and rallied behind him. Right? That happened, and this time around something happened. You just called the person and invited them. If that was said to the president or NPP, that person will have been actually facing a court case right now. So we want the police to be professional. We don't want the police to be political. Since the transition, we did talk about security sector reform. The army used to be politicized and weaponized by the previous government. Now we've seen the army more professional. You hardly hear any issue about the army right now, even though they might have their own issues going on, but you don't hear it in public. It's one of the most disciplined institutions since transition. And we've seen that happening. And the army were able to reform themselves. We heard about the NIA, now the SIS, what they've been doing before. Now they have transitioned and reformed themselves. The only missing puzzle in the security sector reform is the police. Nothing changes since the time of Yaja when it comes to protests. Right? What happened previously when you wanted to protest, you get arrested, you got brutalized, you get imprisoned. And what actually got me tired, and most of the people, and you know, when we say tired, they will say, okay, this is what we wanted because this is what they wanted. No.
The energy was there. It was just energy.
Until our last breath,
people didn't want to even leave.
And what used to happen during Jammeh's era, that's what they did. You arrest peaceful protesters, you catch them in Banjul. From there, you started distributing them. So today, New Yobula, Old Yundum, Elek, New Yobula Benin police station. And then you are not in fact informing their families, their whereabouts.
Yeah. And you were denying them access.
You denied everyone access, including us. The night, the morning. I went to Burfoot police. I mean the police station at the highway. The highway, Garatown.
Garatown, okay.
That's where cyber was kept. I went there on Friday. I was there, and lawyer Martin can actually attest to this. Cyber was standing and he was looking at me, right? And he just winked at me and I said, Cyber, the police said I should not say, Cyber, how are you doing? I said, why? He said, we are not allowed for anyone to talk to them. I said, so you're keeping them incommunicado. He said, don't talk to them.
Wow.
We are not allowed to talk to them. This same thing happened also at Bursibi police station. You understand? So those people, they were ordered
to not even give them access.
So I keep saying I wouldn't blame those junior officials, right? Even though they should have known better that certain illegal orders I should not.
I blame everybody because I'm not going to execute any order that I know is contravenes the law of the Gambia. You are governed by the law as police officers.
Whether they are trained to know that?
Okay.
I mean, they've seen what happened at the TRC.
They have seen what happened at the TRC.
So the police need to be informed that you cannot be executing such orders, right? So it's crazy, but I was tired. Everyone was tired.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing is the young people united, demanding for transparency. They achieved that. Transparency is not expensive. If this was published since 2019, we would not be having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
Just like the Jana Commission report was published. Why do you have to keep this report? Simple as that.
Simple as that. Because I want us to transition, we'll start with this arrest and orders, and then we'll come to the journal, the report, Malagan report, and then we'll also look at the list that they release. Because there's so much, even though they have released the list, there's so much that we need to look at in that list. But the arrest, the boys were arrested because they didn't have a permit, according to the police, on Thursday. like you said, they were transported to different police locations and, and kept incommunicado. But one of them was assaulted, Ibrahima Jallo. I thought at this point in time, we have gone past that. In 2025 in the Gambia, after everything that we went to, the police could still assault somebody in their custody. They did it to Bora last year. But after everything, going to court and winning against them, you would think the police will desist from stuff like that.
Well, that's why I said the same things that we experienced during Jammeh. These things were reported during the TRRC. We've seen it broad daylight. Perpetrators, confessing that they received order, they assaulted and blah blah blah. Now, it's unfortunate that the police still have to continue doing that and then condone that, and then they will not hold the ones responsible accountable for it. What that does is you are actually encouraging the police that whenever you assault someone is under detention, nothing is going to happen. However, the same police, whenever a police officer speak their mind, we've seen it with the case of Barry.
Yeah.
When the lady speak her mind, they say she was going to be subject to internal assessment.
Yeah.
Yes, right? So why do that? But then the ones that are assaulting, innocent citizens, nothing actually happens.
Wow.
So basically, you were condoning that. We were there on Saturday. I think he was assaulted at night before. And before I get into that, I just wanted to say I will not do justice because there are people that have done way more than Marr. They've been moving. I don't want to name them because I will forget some people.
But there are some that you have to,
Yes. No, obviously the likes of Nene Freda Gomez.
Yes.
Right? Babu Nyang, Alaji Nyang. You don't see most of them posting actually anything on social media.
No, they were not posting.
Until this morning, they were at the police. Lawyer Alex Kamara was sick. He came. Lawyer Njai was also everywhere. Some lawyers I don't even know. They were in the background. I would not like to mention their name. I don't know whether they will be. They would like to be named or not. But they were in the background coordinating. So there were about 8 lawyers that came out. Right? Either they were on the ground or they were making calls. So the lawyers also played a huge role. And there are just so many people, right? From the journalists turned activists, same day, because they were not happy with the situation.
We had at some point we have to look at country.
Yes. Yeah. Media organizations, including yours and all the others, always posting and putting this out. And it was not only an urban problem. You see, the rural settlements also were coming out. So the young people were united against this. The downfall of many governments is the brutality of the police. We've seen that in many countries. And if this government is not courteous, this is going to be the consequence of their actions. So if they don't come out and remedy this, the young people are going to continue to be united. We are not going to do any coup d'etat. We are not going to shoot anyone. We are not going to do anyone. God forbid. We wanted to be peaceful. We wanted to work with the police. You understand? We've been working with the police. But we don't want our junior officials to be weaponized, to be manipulated, to be used and assault our fellow youth. There are so many police officers that are against this. But they cannot talk. So we wanted to work with the police because the police also have mandate to fight corruption, right? The police in itself have what they call the fraud squad to investigate fraud. This could be one of their responsibility to investigate this list and see whether there is any fraud connected to it. The police is also part of a unit called the Finance Intelligence Unit, which is established by the Anti-Money Laundering Act. I believe it should be Section 3 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act. The police is part of that Finance Intelligence Unit to look at financial dealings and then also money laundering and illicit financial flows. The police have all those responsibilities to investigate those. So what we are doing is part of promoting the work of the police. So the police will see us as a partner, but not as bandits. The bandits are out there, right? Not as criminals. The criminals are out there, the list and the process is revealing those. So I think this will have been something in other countries. If this list came out, for example, the US, which you know more than I do, the FBI will have collected this.
Yep.
And start investigating.
They will be investigating by now. But the police are not investigating. SIS is not investigating because they are not interested. That is the fact. We have to say it.
So if you don't investigate, please do not come after our assets. These are very innocent young people.
But Marr, one thing that stood out for me was when these young people were being arrested. Da nga gis moto bi ñu taxawal ko rek ñu arrest kenn ñoom ñëpp ñu dugg si moto bi ne ko yóbbu ñu ñun ñëpp. You know, those days suñu police ñëw na ñëpp a dee daw. This is something the government should look at and understand, you know, it's dangerous. And I said this was something that Kamala Harris said during the campaign, courage is contagious, right? If the young people are not scared again to be arrested, to be taken to jail, to be put in detention centers and all this stuff, you know that they are ready for whatever they want. And the government should look at this not just si kaw nii rek ne dem nañ paak nañ dem nañ talk. No, the way they reacted and what they wanted, they made sure they achieved it balaa ñoo génn si square bi. Even when party came negotiating ñoom nee na di wax a party xale dañ ko ne su la neexee ngeen negotiate ñun demuñ as long as suñ na ñeenti 27 yëpp ñëwuñ fii. They had to go pick people di leen transport di leen indi Westfield pour xale yi mun a génn. Loolu government bi dañu war a xool ne Gambia, and I said this here several times, Gambia 22 years ago du nekk Gambia tey fii kenn mënuñoo delloo back to dictatorship. Kenn amul doole bi kenn mënu ko kenn amul pexe bi because Gambians will not let you. And I think this is a learning point boo xam ne foog ñu taxaw fa ñu wax ko pour authorities yi ñu xool ko because dina ñëw gis naa Demba Sabally moom tey wax na but the fact that the people want to take ownership of their country, so for accountability, they want it. And governments should understand that. I think that is something that folk ñu taxaw ci waxtaan ci.
Oh, definitely. Bende wax ne nit soo ko poussé si maraaj da am. Waaw soo demee nga pousse ko ba mu egg si maraaj ma di koy pousse dafay retaliate, right? Then gis lii dafa continuer di am nit ñi dem ba fed up with this. Whenever you wanted to come out for an anti-corruption or for a cause that will call for public accountability, you said no. What are you shielding? That is the question that people have been asking. We would just wanted to come out.
Yeah.
And then if they had allowed the youth to protest, this would have been a thing of the past. But now you've made the youth to be united against your action. The whole country, and this is not about politics, and people need to know about this.
Yeah.
I see pro-NPP supporters arrested on this.
Online.
Yes. And those that have nothing to do with politics, look, this was not a civil society or political. This is just ordinary Gambians.
It's just something that
ordinary Gambians. I saw a video of an elderly person holding the flag of the Gambia saying, we pay these people to wear this uniform. We are not going to allow them to take our resources like that. Addressing both the police and then also public authorities. So people are not crazy. They know what is happening, right? So if you if you think people are not united because you're going to use political tactics to divide them, it's not going to happen. People are always going to be united against corruption. Yeah. That you need to know. Because what is going to happen is the wealth that has been allegedly plundered, the lack of transparency, every single Gambian wants to know. We have a very open digital space. Communication is reaching to the places that you don't even think it will reach. So people are aware. And people are going to stand up. If this was delayed, I was afraid that the whole country,
we're going to involve
every single constituency, we are going to come out. I see the majority leader of the ruling party, which I think we're going to come to, also making this motion. So the parliament took action.
Yeah.
The Ministry of Justice also took action by publishing this. Why not the police?
Why not the police?
Why not the police? Why will the police say, no, this is not going to happen? So,
but even though guy ayen nañ protest Thursday, protest nañ Friday, arrest uñ kenn, protest nañ Sunday, arrest uñ. In fact, dañ doon neexal xale yi. What does that say? And in each of these days, xale yi protest, lakkuñ, yaaxuñ, saaguñ. the message was clear. We want accountability. Police in England and Canada, 20 nit ñu nga aye one in Banjul, turned to hundreds, and then
hundreds was thousands.
Yeah, and
across the country.
Across the country, and you allowed them to protest. Send rational be fan la jógee.
Yes. So this is the thing, right? Because this will be a case study for the police. This will be a message to the police that Gambian youth are not violent. So in the future, whenever Gambian youth or any group wants to converge for accountability or any cause, they should be given a permit.
Yeah.
Right? They are not violent. While there was something that was really unpleasant, I was at Westfield. I went there to try to calm down the youth and ask them to leave the main highway to go to the youth monument so that the cars will flow. They didn't want to hear that.
No.
Right? I tried to plead but they don't want to hear that. And I couldn't do anything more. And they were right. They said the youth must be released, or we see a video of them that they are released.
Yeah.
If not, we're not going to leave the highway. The police were there, watching what was happening, and nothing violent. They were singing, they were dancing, they were jumping, they were also chanting.
Yeah.
Release the youth, publish the list, and they were happy. Julie Jot, when I saw that message, when I saw the photos, it struck me. Julie Jot, they left everything and then prayed. So someone else who had the intention to breach the public peace, or to cause mayhem, or to vandalize properties, kooku dina ñëw mu ne dafay protest Julie Jot.
Mu bàyyi
ñëpp ñëw ñu mobilize ñëpp ñu bari toog ñu dina ñëw jëli. Loolu nag.
Yeah, that was very emotional.
It tells you, it shows you how we are as Gambians. We are united on the religion. We are united as people.
When it's the common good of the country.
Exactly. So if you, for me, when I sat and reflecting, I was like, this is a blessing in disguise, because people keep saying that, okay, youths are between political parties, they here and there. But this is telling us that we can come together for a common cause, and then the interest is already there. It was just a matter of someone else sparkling it.
Yeah.
And that's what actually happened. And the youth showed the whole country that, hey, we can be united for a particular cause.
Yeah.
And this was about the common good of the country.
Xam nga lu xew, because lii boo ko seetee, it is not about NPP. Ban NPP youth moo am si laani kenn amu ko. Benn UDP youth moo ko am kenn amu ko. All the youths, so amutee access doo ko am, boo amutee xaalis doo ko am. So just being a mayor supporter, so daf laa woon ne yow ak noo foo mun a bokka rek dafa am si social class bi nga bokka, and that's what people want to break. We want equal amass of our wealth. So nekkee as long as Gambian nga war nga mun a am access boo xam koo xam ne keneen ko am access am na ko. So that is something, and you tell the people nga gis xale yi di la wax ne, this is the Gambia buñ buga mooy ku nekk nga am access to everything, resources. But one person that stood out for me was this girl, that girl that was Afana Aji Umila, the law student from the UTG.
Yeah.
When I call her Kira ko Aji our justice our ba. Hanga justice our sui was non la de defe loxo mi ni la de def. So I was like, justice our balako today. But you could see the passion in the young people, the conviction. maa ngi gis xale jigéen yi ngi taxaw, benn xale bu jigéen laa gis tam mu ngi taxaw next to Kemo. Every protest moom moo taxaw foofu. Ma ne xale bi de xaw ma fan la jóge ana mbokkaam yi. But people were not scared. Kenn téyewul sax doom si biti dañ leen wax ne bàyyi leen ngeen génn, because everybody thought they had a stake in this. And I think this is something, comme ni nga ko waxee ne, the government should know ne people are not scared. People want to hold them accountable. But we didn't hear from the executive, Marr. Yaa ngi wax loolu. National Assembly dañoo def seen inquiry. The Youth Council gis nañ ne ñëw nañ engage xale yi nekk ak ñoom foofu. Gis nañ the police yi ñoom dañ doon xeexa ñoon, waaye at some point ending bi, they also knew that they had to play nice with the protesters. But we didn't hear from the executive. The only person we heard from is Demba Sabally today. For me, that sums up everything for me. For me, that is the representation of the executive, because he's a state minister. Li yëpp xew na gisuñ président, dégguñ ko, dégguñ any government spokesperson, dégguma ko si lii angum, dégguma kenn. Justice minister press release laa gis about Lisby, but we didn't hear anybody assuring the young people of accountability. That is important. The president didn't tell us, I heard you, I am going to address this. We'll make sure there's accountability. We didn't hear. The government spokesperson did not come out. Small brother. Why you the president heard you, he is going to speak to you, or he's going to make sure there's an investigation and we will get back to you. The Ministry of Justice did not say that. They only gave us the list and said, list bang in the like the mungini. We did not hear. All we had today was Demba Sabali threatening politicians who are Gambians as well, who were at the police station at the rallies. Esa falsa demuton si ben protest. Mo si police station nila nekon didimbela halay. Rohim Malik Lo was at the police stations and at one point we on Westfield tam si protest be. All the minister could do was able to do today was to attack those individuals. At some point, attack na protesters. That gives me an idea what they were thinking at the executive level. What do you make of that statement coming from the Minister of Agriculture?
Well, first, I think if there, not that I think, but if there is no statement coming from the executive or from the highest office of the land regarding this unbelievable revelation, right, from the Republic, and then also the list that is published by the Ministry of Justice, then I think the executive is condoning corruption broad daylight. Because lu ñuul si sow neex na ràññee. Ñoom seen boppa, if they sit and look at the list, they will know that something else is not right. The president have that power under the constitution the same way he was able to establish the Janneh Commission. He could also establish a commission to investigate this. So if they don't take an action for accountability to prevail, then the executive is going to condone corruption, and then people are never going to forget about that, and then people are going to use it against them. For the Minister of Agriculture, for me, I don't think I wanted to say much about him. All that I want to tell him is to fix the Minister of Agriculture, for him to fix the crisis that we have in this country, having insufficient food supply in this country, depending on external or slightly importation for the country to survive. That is his problem to fix as a ministry, not this politics. We are not going to allow this to be politicized. This is a national crisis. So man, do sorry, sir.
Sorry. Duñ ko politicize. Ñun duñ politician. Why ñun ñëpp dañ ci duga.
We are not going to allow this to be politicized. This is a national crisis.
You're right. So
for me, that's why I said we should just focus on this issue. Focus on the list. Anyone who tries to bring policy into it, we're just going to treat you like nobody. Really. We focus on the list and then call for accountability.
Simple as that. That is very important. Now let's look at the report itself. The report. When I say report, what was your first reaction? The Republic. Mustafa Dabo.
Someone else that have been working into this space, and we always been working on these issues. So first, when the audit report came, I think we flagged this. We started talking about it. But what Mustafa actually revealed are issues that we did not even thought was happening. And the government cannot come and say everything that Mustafa said is not true. In fact, I had in fact, I had on the radio somebody even claiming that yes, this is true. So for me, instead of coming and then doing dirty laundry or trying to protect the government image, it's simple. Something has gone wrong. We need to admit and then take action. But not to be here defending. It's not going to solve this country. We're in a space to reconcile. And reconciliation is not going to happen if someone else messes, and then another person comes and then do their dirty laundry. You understand? These things happened since 2019, 2020. We're in 2025. The ones that were there in 2019, 2020, they knew exactly what happened. The one that came after, they are only going to talk based on the information that is presented to them. They were not there. They know nothing about what was happening. So you're only depending on information that you are communicated and then also documents that are presented. And I want to come to the issue about document. People keep saying, okay, the documents are here, they're perfect. Everything was done, the evidence are here. We know in anti-corruption that you can follow paper trails that looks very, very perfect, but the outcome of those paper trails are always dubious.
Yeah.
Right? So you cannot come and say that the evidences are here, but then the results of all those documentations, how those documentations were actually being made, how they were presented, who reviewed them, who was the first person to receive it, it might all look perfect, but the results, we know perhaps there could be favoritism from the beginning. You understand? And the defense that there was a close bidding. Today I was presenting it to my staff.
Yeah.
How corruption can actually even take place in close bidding. Unfortunately, I did not bring anything to demonstrate you, to simulate it for you. But I will use these two.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I am the one who is bidding.
Yeah.
I put this in an envelope. So this envelope, when I seal it and put in the address, I said this is going to go to the Solicitor General. But there's no courier services that is going to take this envelope from me and drop it directly to the office of the Solicitor General. It comes to you, perhaps as records office.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Now, this is the color of my envelope. So the records office, who knows whether the record office might have opened that envelope, look what's in there, and then put it to another envelope and then give it to you. And then copy it and paste the information that was in this envelope and then put it here and then give it to you. I am not going to be there when this envelope was going to be opened. So I cannot tell you this was the original envelope that I submitted.
Makes sense.
You understand?
Yeah.
So all of these are possibilities for someone else to have access to privileged information before the ministerial committee or the ultimate receiver actually sees it. And the ultimate receiver will also not know whether this was the original envelope that was submitted. So if you seal it, I open it, look at that document, and then use that information and give it to someone else. Put it in another envelope, seal it, and then write it down. How will you know that is my envelope? I was not there, so that's why open bidding is important.
It's important.
We all are here.
We come together.
You bid, another person bids. The ultimate winner, we will know is the highest bidder.
It's the highest bidder.
So the list was also published without information attached to it.
Yeah.
Narrative attached to it to say, okay, the vehicle that was sold for $3,000 is, for God's sake. Vehicle that was sold for $3,000 is, right? This was what the first bidder bid, or there was no bidding. Right? There was only one person who bidded it, and then it was issued, or it was assigned to that particular person.
Yeah.
So, but we are taking our time to look into it.
I want us to look at the report, the story, the Republic's story. Conflict of interest was flagged a lot, because you could see it was all about the process, things that happened, how. Because the former minister said he has not directly benefited anything from the sales of these assets. But the Republic never said he benefited anything. They didn't say that. But it was the processes that he oversaw, from the hiring of the first receiver and then firing of whatever, whether firing or terminating his contract, whatever, and the appointment of a new receiver, and that process and everything that happened. Because the commission, before the commission was set up, Prom was the receiver. He was charging 10%. That was his contract. When the commission oversaw what work he was doing, they noticed that the 10% was a little high. In fact, Ocean Bay Hotel complained, because Ocean Bay was part of the assets that were said to be part of Jammeh's asset. They complained that they were paying so much, and then at some point they were paying millions to the receiver, because they could not monthly, because whatever money they made, 10% of that was going to the receiver. So at some point they were not even making profit. They could not even meet their overheads. They wrote to the commission to say, look, this is what we are paying to the commission. We are not even able to pay salaries. And when the commission reviewed everything, they contacted the receiver to reduce the price of the percentage from 10 to 3. The receiver also gave them reasons why the 10% was good for him, because he had staff and all that stuff. Went back and forth, but at some point they were able to get the 3%. So the receiver at some point was at 3% by the time his contract was being terminated by the Attorney General's office. Terminate his contract at 3%, have a new receiver, and give that person 10%. Even had to go to the point where the judge, Asaho, refused and gave reasons, but they had to go to another judge and then gave them fresh documentations to that new judge, who was also on vacation, and gave him a new fresh application, and the judge granted it based on what was on his table. That's what judges will do. They will rule on what they have on the table. So my thing is, what was the rationale behind that? A 3% commission, receivership, cancel that or whatever, stop that one, and go get to the extent of from one judge to the other and get a 10%. So these are some of the ways that there's conflict of interest, and there's also issues people will have to flag. Because why would you do that? What is the interest of what Justice Asaho said, no, and gave you her reasons? You left her and go to another judge just to get this other person get the 10%. These are things that we need to look at. It's not about you having the plot or having money or your family members having it, but the processes that you engage in. Why did you go to that length? These are loopholes. These are the things that are very important in anything if you're looking at. And I know as reporters, Mustafa, this was very key to them. They would have been huge to them. Why? Why would this person go to that length? Why would they even go to the length of even trying to get these assets that were the court said you could not do, but you had to go to the court to make sure they are released? But when they were released, who were they allocated to? These are some of the things. It's not about you benefiting. It's about what happened after you engage in these processes, the things, the aftermath of those things.
Well, you see, that's the whole reason why people are also demanding for transparency. There has been lack of transparency in this whole process. And it's casting doubts in the minds of every single Gambian. So the fact that now these are coming, and I also had, with all due respect, I also had the side of the story of the minister. And yesterday, and he was reading the suggestion that it came from, I believe, the director of civil litigation, that okay, since the judge actually denied them their prayers, they could actually file another one. So they're not in control of who the vacation judge is going to be or not, which he has presented his case. And Mustafa has also presented his case. Now, the judge and jury, the public are going to look at that and then make their own decisions. And I see people that are saying, no, it should not have happened. The transparency should have been there. This is the consequence of lack of transparency in public administration. You understand? If the transparency was there from the beginning, and the interest to publish the risk, because there was no interest to publish these supporting documents from the beginning, and then also Parliament asked for it. The minister then said, the current minister said he was not going to publish it, because of the privacy of those people. And now that the pressure has been on, and we have to also appreciate. I have to appreciate the Ministry of Justice for coming out ultimately to publish. They've done what they are supposed to do. So the public really things are blurry to them. Right? It is only when the story of the Republic came out that we are now hearing explanations. So the issue of conflict of interest is already in the minds of the people. So I think what has to be done is the government itself to come out and then commission an inquiry, look into these issues, the process, because there is a loss of revenue to the state, especially in the disposal of vehicles. Huge loss. And I'm going to come to that later on in the show. So now, whether the conflict of interest benefited someone else that is not in the government, what we have read, immediately the first time you read it, you will vividly see conflict of interest. You understand? And when it comes to conflict of interest, I don't have to benefit from it. But if I favor someone else or I follow up on behalf of someone else without waiting for the due process to complete, there's going to be perception of conflict of interest. Why is there vested interest, right? Aside of so many orders that might have applied, let's say for example land allocation, why am I following up? Given my position, why am I following up on behalf of one person alone? Yeah. You understand? So that is going to be a perception of that's going to create perception of conflict of interest. You understand? Even though that is not your intent, but the outsider, that's how they're going to construct their mind and their thoughts regarding how you are actually following up on that. So not only that, but the issue of the receiver. If Augustus Prom was appointed, I believe it was a court. It was either I think it was the court that appointed him as the receiver, or it was the Janneh Commission recommendation to.
He was appointed before the Janneh Commission.
He was appointed by the Janneh Commission.
Before the Janneh Commission.
Before the Janneh Commission. So if he was appointed by the court to be the receiver, and there was no foul play done by them. If there was no foul play done by them, if they were actually managing the assets well and doing what was expected of them, even if their time elapsed, I will have actually given them that job again.
Renew it, especially if their percentage had gone from 10 to 3.
And there is no reported of alleged conflict of interest or corruption in the way they were managing, right? Augustus Prom used to audit us before. For 5 years, they've been auditing us. Aside from the international best practice that after 5 years, you have to go to another auditor. We know them. And then we have to go with the best auditors in this country to audit our accounts. So we know that they're passing of highest integrity. Any auditor that we work with, including the ones that we work in, they're institute of highest integrity. So the fact that they were managing things very well, if their time elapsed, I would have extended their time. There's no problem with that because we've seen in government where government issue contracts to external businesses, including foreign businesses, right? When their contract elapsed, they renew it. Whether they're doing what is right or not, they renew it. So it's also normal to renew the contract of Augustus Prom. If they were actually doing what was expected of them. Unless you are able to tell us that there was something that Augustus Prom did, and there's no report of that nature. So this is the reason why the public cannot accept that, to say, okay, their term elapsed naturally, and as a result, we have to give it to someone else. But also, there's also another option on the table, which is, okay, we have existing relationship with this entity. They've been doing what is expected of them. There's also value for money. They already have expertise and institutional memory of the assets they are managing. So we will allow it to continue. That option was also available, but they opted for the other.
And I think the other red flag there was, the person that was allegedly involved in the sales later turned out to be the spouse of the former minister, and this was the biggest red flag and conflict of interest that people pointed out. I think that was even what really angered a lot of people, because people will say, if you did not directly benefit, but your spouse benefited because who later became your spouse benefited because she was involved in the sales. And I think, so I look at it because we're all interrelated. This country is small. Sometimes when you're calling on behalf of somebody, you're like, we're all interrelated. It's small. Sometimes we overlook these things, but sometimes in best practice, that is also a lot of big red flag, right?
Yes. Before 2023, what I had the former minister saying, she was a friend at the time. Right. So yes. I'm going to talk about that as a friend, not now as a spouse, with respect to their family and their relationship, which is actually contracted on an Islamic way. So I will just give them that respect and that privacy. Now we'll talk about the friendship, because according to what I have read, their relationship as friends started in 2010, right? And that individual was doing personal business for the former justice minister. So where the red flag was when the lands that were frozen by the states and an application was done for those lands to be released.
Yeah.
And eventually, your friend benefited from it. A friend was allocated a land, and then also you personally follow up on the allocation of that land.
Yeah.
That is where the red flag is, because it's a friend.
Yeah.
And conflict of interest should be declared in such process.
Yeah.
That's what we are taught in anti-corruption, right? If I know Fatu, and I know Fatu has a vested interest in something else, it's not only going to be Fatu that have interest in this, but there are going to be so many others that will have interest.
What's going on with the internet? Go ahead.
Right. There's going to be a lot of people that will have interest in this. So if I'm following up on behalf of someone else that I know, then there's going to be conflict of interest. And I think that was the red flag for many people.
Yeah. So the other thing also that also came up was the apart from the conflict of interest part, I think the other area that I saw was the new receiver, the tax component. The tax component, even though the record says they made about 89 million, but that year they only paid what? They paid over 2 million or even nothing for tax purposes. So that is why these investigations, when they are done, can create a lot of issues. Because if you are receiving 89 million, the state itself should have made sure they deducted 10%, which is the withholding tax. Because I know this too well, because I remember my first check with Gambia Revenue Authority. I always say this story. That was the only reason why I've become tax compliant, actually. My first check with the Gambia Revenue Authority went all the way to the CG's office for signature. It went to finance. I was following it, went to CG's office. They flagged it and they called me. Have you registered? When it's just the first few months that I registered my business, have you registered for? No, have you even registered your tax obligations? Have you done all of this? We have to deduct 10%. I had to wait another couple of days before they had to send back the check back to finance, redo it, deduct 10%. And this is the obligation of all government ministries. When we have checks at the ministries or even government agencies, they take 10%. There's no negotiation. But why didn't that happen? And then the person is self-assessment. If they decide to pay 1 million, they could do that because nobody is overseeing those processes. So that also was flagged by the report.
Yes, I read that in the 3 payments that they have received, totals 89 million between 2019 to 2022.
Yeah.
And the Republic did mention the years where they paid 1 million, 2 million, and I believe they could not, according to the report, they could not establish they could not establish the total amount of tax due to be paid, right? That could only be done by the GRA.
Yeah.
The GRA could actually do spot checking. I think if GRA once they could actually look into their accounts, how much they were able to, how much they generated in a year, and then be able to do their calculation and then determine what should be paid to the cost. But what you've explained, that is the right thing to do, right? So there are two things here, right? The government, if they have not deducted when they were paying, if they have not deducted the tax that is liable for those payments, they should have done that, because the government knows better, right? Whenever the payment is coming, the one that is issuing the check, just like your case, the person should know that this individual is tax compliant, or this company is tax compliant, and the tax have to be deducted, because that will also be a retainer for the government, because the money goes back to the government. That should have been done. The second thing is, if that was not done, the GRA could actually pick it up, just like they used to do with other businesses, and then make sure there was compliance and what was due to the state was paid to the state. Yeah.
But the other thing also that the report also looked at was the sales of the cattle. All the other things that the president had, I think we all know, I mean, they only said it was 725. I don't even believe that was it. I think what happened was during Jammeh's time, when he left, there wasn't proper management of his portfolio, all this. I mean, somebody just cautioned me before I came to the show. He said, we should not be calling these things Jammeh's assets. Jammeh never came with any of these assets. This is the Gambian people's assets. And I think that is something that we need to look at. I have seen politicians, I have seen APRC and the non-aliens saying, our party leaders, party leader, Bagasami. No, we need to rectify that. This was things that Jammeh took from the Gambian people. And I think that is important for us to know. This is the Gambian people's assets. Because how did Jammeh own the Kiang Forest Park? How did he own the islands? How did he own those things? These are natural resources of the country. How did he own all of these things? This is a conversation we also need to have. When I looked at the list, 266 properties, hills, mota ñu oyé ko Babili Mansa, momom geji, asaman si ak yep moko momon. So I think that is something we need to look at. Who owns these assets? How did Jammeh get all of these assets?
Okay.
Marr?
When I started my anti-corruption work, when I was a little bit way more younger, we started a campaign called Follow the Money.
Follow the money, yeah.
Right. So we follow the money to be able to make decisions.
Yeah.
So let's give an example of how Jammeh was able to acquire the Potomac Mansion.
Yes.
In Maryland. First, there was a payment that was made from Gambia Petroleum account that was a trust bank to escrow, I believe, a realtor in the US. No, it was paid to MYJ Trust Fund, the Mariam Yahya Jammeh Trust Fund.
Yeah.
Right. It was done, I believe, between 3 months somewhere around 2009. Right, between June to September, I believe.
Yeah.
The transfers were made from the Gambia Petroleum to Mariam Yahya Jammeh Trust Fund.
Yeah.
The monies were paid there, and that money was eventually paid to the realtor in the US to buy the Potomac Mansion for $3.5 million, and about $60,000 was paid for the administrative costs. That's how he was able to acquire that. So when the court was also forfeiting that property, they followed the money. And they were able to establish that this money came from a state-owned enterprise or a company in which the state had shares in those companies, and they see it as money that were bribed to him, that were paid to him through bribery, or it might be extorted, or it might be forced to be paid, or given his position, that money was given to him, and he doesn't deserve that. That money should have been given back to the state, should have been given back to the people, or be used in the benefit of the people.
Yeah.
So when it was paid, they were able to follow that money, and they established that this property was acquired illicitly.
Okay.
And they were able to present that in court, and they get a forfeited order. So when it was forfeited in US, the property was now under the control of the US government.
Yeah.
So when it has been disposed, now the US government said, in fact, when they received the forfeited order, they said they are going to, whatever proceeds comes out of it, they will return it back to the Gambia. Which was welcoming.
Yeah.
Now here as well, legally, all the assets that he has acquired, right, that were registered in his name, whether he got them illegally or he got them rightly or wrongly, they were registered in his name, so they are Jammeh's assets.
Okay.
Until investigation was done, and the Jammeh Commission established that these assets were illicitly acquired, and as a result, it should be returned back to the people. It was forfeited. So the moment it was forfeited, meaning in a better term, it was confiscated. It was confiscated, and then it is no more Jammeh's asset.
It becomes our asset.
It becomes the people's asset, because now the asset is under the control of the state. So the state now should administer those assets, and when the state is administering on behalf of the people that put them in office.
Yeah.
You understand? So they are now the assets of the people. The moment it was forfeited by the state, it belongs to the people. I think also for a better of lack of better word, people call it Jammeh's asset. It's also normal because we're not looking at the legality.
Yeah, we're just looking at
Yes, we call it Jammeh's asset. I mean that's normal because you don't expect everyone to understand this legality. But when you say Jammeh's asset, people know that those assets were taken and it is with the state. So every case is given a name. So a name does not necessarily mean that is the whole stuff. So I don't have any problem with that. But I don't really
just
have
like Thuro Dabo said to me, he said, Fatu, you can put Jamel asset. You can Jamel and the Gambia government la wafia. I made a bid to the Gambia government and I bought it. And when I was making my bid, it was through the Gambia government and I paid to the Gambia government. My receipt is here, it says Gambia government. So it's yes, you're right. It was forfeited from Jame and it became the property of the state. Now, the list was released on Saturday. And when we got the list, one thing that stood out for me is because the properties, that's what we need to look at first. The Alpha Capital, the receiver, that was the list that was floating. That was the list that the National Assembly had received from the Minister of Justice. The commission said what they identified was 266 properties. But allegedly, we are saying that after that, in 2021, Pa Bojang came and went around with officials of the ministry and some other people, and they had identified extra properties.
Yeah, I think the total should be 281 properties.
Okay. But that's different from Pa Bojang, the ones that Pa Bojang also identified. Now, the list that the ministry released, I saw two different lists. One was 37 and another one was 44, but they have exactly the same names. This one 44, this one 37. Now, my question has been, and I've said this on my Facebook, where is the remaining 220 plus properties that are not being released to us? And that is a big question. We know some have been allocated. Who have they been allocated to? What has been the process? And what is the reason why they've been allocated? These are all things that we need to find out. But wouldn't it be right for the government to tell us, out of the 266, we sold 45. We allocated this number of allocations. We allocated to these people, and this is what is outstanding. But that has not been forthcoming. We did not receive anything. All we received is that 44 that was sold by Alpha Capital. At least Alpha Capital sold 44. But the rest, what happened to it?
That's a very good question. And that's why I keep telling people we need to focus on the list and then do our analysis. We know what was reported in the Janneh Commission regarding the landed properties that Jammeh owned, those that are within the country and those that are outside the country. So what has been disposed from the list that the Ministry of Justice published was 44 properties. Now, 44 minus those 281 landed properties, we need to now ask questions on the remaining properties. The status of those remaining properties, their value as well, we need to know. So this is one step of transparency that has been achieved. So it is now for us to look into it and ask more questions and then demand for those informations to be provided. Thank God we could actually do that under the laws of the Gambia now. We need to ask those questions, and the government have to provide that. What is the status of the remaining properties that have not been disposed? Right? For now, for us as the public, what we have been informed is 44 have been sold. And we know how much they have been sold for. So what about the remaining properties as well? Where are they? We need to ask those questions. And here is where we will be told whether they have been assigned to people, whether the people that they have been assigned to, the names have to come. Are they ministers? Are they families to anyone that is related to the ministers, or they're given to ordinary people? We just need to know those information. Minus those ones, the ones that are still not disposed, that have not been assigned, where are they and what are their values? These are the questions that we need to know. Because you know why, Fatu? These are public interest assets. Government have a lot of assets that they have been disposing. They always dispose assets. There's a lot of assets that the government have, but it has never been subjected to public interest. Since we started this work, I've not seen much of a public interest on any government assets except this. Because you know why? It was a commission that was established to investigate Gambia's financial dealings, the dealings of public financial dealings of public institutions, their relations with Gambia, and then also individual businesses and also individuals within the public sector. Those assets that were acquired, it has been reported they are assets that are acquired through means of corruption. So the public know that these assets are assets that were acquired through corruption. Now, the reason why there is interest, because these are assets of corruption, the way and manner in which they should be disposed must be very transparent, clean as a white cloth. You understand? If there is a lack of transparency, when people are going to say assets of corruption assets that were confiscated have been disposed through corruption means, through means of corruption because of the lack of transparency. Wherever there is lack of transparency, there is going to be a perception of corruption that is given in any society. You understand? So now that there is public demand, there is public interest, there should be nothing that should be left out. Those lists have to come. I believe there's also a volume of the Janneh Commission that the people are also asking. Volume 4 of the Janneh Commission report. Why is it not reported? Janneh Commission was also established to look into this matter. The public have interest. We need to know all those volumes, right? Every single one. The people need to know. The transparency doesn't harm.
Especially the recommendations, because the Janneh Commission recommendations, we read through some of them, especially the disposal of these assets. They were very clear. They were very clear. For example, when it comes to the properties, what they recommended was if this property was acquired through seizure from an individual, give them an opportunity to pay off on current market price. If it was something that was taken from institutions, give them opportunity to buy them off and through current market price, like the hills and all these parks back to the state, and the landed properties and others. They were clear recommendations, but that didn't happen. Most of the cases, that didn't happen. But also, what we saw looking through the list that was released, there were discrepancies. For example, there was this property in Bruford Heights that was the same plot number, the same price. In one list, it was said to be bought by one Binta Sise, but in another list, it was said to be bought by one Lamin Sise, but the same price. And then you go to, I think in Banjul, there was another property that was said to be bought by Ajib Bank in one list, and it was said to be bought by one Ibrahim Jallo in another list. I don't know whether it was done in a rush, or intentionally, or these could become serious issues, because that tells us you could interpret that in any way. What was the reason? Why would something like that have those kind of issues coming from the ministry?
I think the ones that are in a better position to answer that question will be the Ministry of Justice. But yes, I think it was done. I'm not going to be here to. They should clarify that. But going through the list, you will sense that there are certain information that are not accurate, because even names sometimes you will see the same name, right? But surname was spelled wrongly
in a different
You understand? So even sometimes you will see certain vehicles, right? They don't spell them. Let's say, for example, Hyundai, or should I say Toyota Hilux, right? They were not spelled correctly. So there are some grammar. I think it was done in a rush, also because of the public demand, and this was also done over the weekend, and then published. It should not have been like that. What should have been done was since 2023.
We should have had proper record keeping.
Since that time when Parliament asked this information, they should have come out and then publish. All the reports, the Janneh Commission report was well done, all submitted to the government. The government decided to publish, but we're still asking about that volume 4. the TRRC, the same thing, everything was done, given to the government published everything. The CRC, the same thing, government published everything. So these things should not be, they should not be swept under the carpet. You understand? The list, obviously, people are going to continue demanding it. So I think that is for the Minister of Justice to come in and tell us why the discrepancy with the list that was given to Parliament vis-a-vis the one that they published on Saturday.
And then the cattle. We at least with the properties that they have given us, they have been corresponding names and the pricing. But the cattle that they just told us, this is the number, total, yes. And they were, sold at different locations. We have not been able to identify, because the reason why that is important, because I've seen allegations of, my friend Ahmad Ba, who has categorically come out and said he did not buy any of the Jame cattle. He had made it clear that he did not. But there have been a lot of allegations that, he was the one who bought most of it, because mom Sama Katla, right? But if something like that is going on, there's rumors, and then government is not giving us that list, what would that do? Would it not further fuel that rumor that people have been saying? We have not seen any list coming from the sales of the cattle.
It will not also do justice to the other people whose name has already been revealed.
Okay.
In the sales of the properties, the landed properties, the vehicles. The aircraft, and the scrap vehicles that those names have been revealed. So it will not do justice to those people if their names are already revealed in the buyer list, but for the cattle, the names are not released, because government is supposed to do proper record keeping.
Yeah.
Right? Every single cattle that you have disposed, right? You record the amount and then who actually bought it. That is expected of the government.
Yeah.
So the list of that will come out.
Yeah.
If they have not done that, then that will have been really someone else might have been negligent of their responsibility, because government cannot just dispose assets like they have to keep the records, because they're going to be subjected to audits. And this is the reason why the auditors also asked in their audit report, when they asked for all of the information, it was not presented to them.
Because it was not presented.
It was not presented to the auditors when 706 million was received as proceeds in the disposal of Jame assets. The auditors asked questions: what was sold, who were the buyers, who were the auctioners, the lancing of the auctioners, because the auctioners have to have lancing for them to be able to auction government assets. All of those information they asked, nothing was presented except a 40 million receipt. So these questions, and I was saying the same thing. The question that the auditors asked is the same question that the people are asking. Not that many people even read.
We did not. I didn't even know.
Yes.
It was through you that I even knew that there was this report there.
It's just common sense that naturally a human being will ask that question. It's just common sense. Whether you are school or not, whether you know about this issue or not, it's just common sense that people will ask.
Yeah, that's true. What about the luxury vehicles? Because I'm coming to the other vehicles. We did a story today, going through all of the scrap, because there were vehicles and then scrap. But going through the vehicles, I did not see all the Bentleys, the Rolls-Royce, all these luxury vehicles that the former president had. I didn't see them. And somebody told me most of them in Senegal, Bissau, what happened? We have not been told what happened to those luxury vehicles. These are state assets. What explanation can we give for that?
Well, like I said, the list is incomplete. These are the supposed disposed assets. The remaining assets, the properties, the luxury vehicles, and we are also told that he had some luxury coins, whether they are silver Gambian coins or they are gold coins.
There was some gold also that was reported. We have not had any of that in any of these reports.
We also heard that he had ivory. All of these we had. So it is for the government to come. I'm sure there must have been an inventory of all of Jame's assets, because they said there was valuation. So it means all of these assets will have been recorded in an inventory and they will have been valued. So if they are disposed, they should be able to know what has been disposed and the total proceeds that has been generated, and what has not yet been disposed in their current state.
Yeah.
That record should be there, and that also have to be published. And the National Assembly sitting on this Wednesday must ask these questions because the National Assembly can subpoena these documents, right? They have to be presented. So the National Assembly have to ask these following questions. The assets that have been disposed, right? The process, they need to ask about the supporting documents for the process, number one. Number two, for example, the remaining landed properties, aside from the 44 that has been disposed, what happened to the remaining over 220 landed properties? Where are they? What is their status? What is their current market value? You need to ask those questions. The vehicles as well, the National Assembly should also ask supporting documents for the ones that have done the valuation, valuing these vehicles, and whether those valuations were rightly done. Because common sense will tell you and I that a car that is roadworthy is not worth $10,000. Even a car that is not roadworthy should be more than that. Because what should have been done is today, let's say, for example, you have a Hummer, or part of the asset that we are confiscated. Jammeh live a luxurious life. We all know that. Whenever Jammeh is traveling or going from one place to another, whether you like him or not, you will start on the street to look at the convoy.
Just to look at the convoy.
The Hummers, I mean, and then most of these Hummers are personalized Hummers, especially the longer one that is where
is that big long one that used to be in front? That long one. I think there are about 2 or 3 of those. They used to be the long ones that will lead the convoy.
He has a special cabin behind where he keeps the biscuits.
And stand there and I know you.
You know, so, and then also, you know, the Rolls Royce were personalized.
Yes, PR.
Yes. PR. So, not only PR, but the seats of those Rolls Royce had Jammeh's name. So they were personalized, meaning if iPhone is selling this iPhone for $60,000, for example. Yeah. If I want a personalized iPhone, it will cost me way more than the market price. Yeah. So those are personalized vehicles for Jammeh. That loves luxury. We all know that. So we cannot tell me Jammeh, the vehicles that he has been riding or he bought, you sold them for $20,000.
They are scrap?
Huh? No, they're not scrap because they have a scrap list.
I saw the scrap list.
And there is also one that is not a scrap list. But in that list, which is not a scrap list, a Hummer was sold for $20,000. Today we were checking the list and one of my staff told me, Marr, are you sure this is not dollars? I said, no. It says dollars. Yeah. We trade in dollars. So it is actually in dollars. So now, those Hummers, the tires alone, could be worth more than that. The seats of those cars, right? The machines, because what happens today if you are disposing a car? Yeah. Even if the car is not in good condition, you will have someone else, you will bring a mechanic. And I just wanted to comment on this. In many countries, their military will have a car mechanic. Yeah. So whenever there is an issue with government cars, they will take it to the military, because the military, there is different skills. People don't know about that. The military have different skills. And part of the military, you have the mechanic. Let's say, for example, God forbid they're in a war and their car has an issue, there is a mechanic that will fix it, because they're not going to say we're going to call a mechanic to come and fix it. The military will fix it. The military also have doctors, and they have surgeons. They're all trained. So the military should have been given the resources to establish a mechanism so that they can maintain and maintenance government fleets. So what should have been done was, if that was in place, the military would have come and look at the vehicle, turn the engine, do proper scanning, because those are state-of-the-art vehicles, right? And the vehicle report will state what type of problem is it. So let's say, for example, that Hummer has a heating problem, and you know fixing that heating problem will cost you, let's say, about $20,000-$30,000. Yeah. And the car, that was the only issue. So it is a used car, right? It has depreciated over time. Now this will be the market value. They say it was costing $20,000. It is now used. Maybe it will cost about $10,000 to $15,000. You understand? Yeah. So fixing it will just take you $30,000. So if you fix it, I will sell it to you based on that value. You understand? Or I fix it and then sell it to you with the value that it deserves. So that will not have been revenue loss.
Yeah, for the country.
For the country. You understand? That should have been the first thing that should be done. But you cannot just come in and look at a car and then say, okay, this iPhone, blah, 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 I'll just value it this way. No matter how voluminous or no matter the quantity of the cars, it is the asset of the state. Correct valuation should be done and the correct value should be given.
Yeah.
A scrap Hummer cannot cost even less than $150,000. A scrap Hummer.
Yeah.
Because anyone buying it will fix it, and then once they fix it, the parts are available. You understand? Either you get it from the manufacturer or you get it from, in fact, Amazon or eBay or car dealership, stores. You ship it and then fix it, and then the car will be roadworthy. You understand? So I think those are the things that should be done. But to even Hyundai Santa Fe, 10,000. I saw a car that was sold for $3,000, and that car is roadworthy.
It was roadworthy.
Yes, it's not a scrap. It's not reported as scrap because for the scrap cars they have listed them as scrap. So this is not a scrap.
And that's where the conversation is. I was going through the list that night, and I kept I couldn't believe my eyes. But that brings to the question: who did the evaluation? What was the process of the evaluation? And who were these items sold to? Because, for example, Marr, you saw a list where an individual had bought almost 10 of these cars. Another individual had bought. It was just a certain group of people that were given the opportunity. If you had given me the opportunity, no broke, munajina moto 5,000 or 10,000. But people were given opportunities to sell, to buy these vehicles, and bought bulk of them. And the names that really stood out was, for example, Jar Oil. Now, for me, I've said this. Look, I want to be fair to these people that bought these vehicles. They had the opportunity and they bought it. And it's the people who oversaw these sales. The valuator, what yardstick did they use to value these properties, these vehicles? The people that were selling this, I have never ever in my life saw an advertisement where they were telling us the transparency part. Because if I didn't see anything, you didn't see it, I don't know who saw it. Because at the end of the day, we see a lot of the things that happen in this country. If I didn't see it, that means majority of Gambians did not see it. Now, but there were specific people who were present in the scrap list. Like they bought over 10 vehicles. The same group of people bought the roadworthy vehicles too. So it looks like it was just there for a specific people to come and buy. And that there is the problem.
And mind you that those cars were in different locations.
Okay.
So how do those people know about the whereabouts? Yes, someone could come and say, okay, they were advertised. But how is it possible that only those people were given
they saw the advert?
Yes, they saw the advert. So now, what should have been done was open bidding. That's just it. Okay. That's just it. Those cars should have been brought, and open bidding should be done. Look, the U.S. Embassy, whenever they are auctioning their properties, they will put it on their social media and report it, and then people come, look at it, and they buy those properties. They bid, the highest bidder will take it. The Amsterdam Dakar Challenge, whenever they come back, they will go to the stadium, do open bidding, people bid, and the highest bidder takes
Even
it.
GRA does it. Sometimes it's not very transparent, but most of the time they put it on the papers.
Yes. So if anyone comes and say, okay, it was published on the newspapers, on the website, so if you do not see it, then you should have actually done your work to actually see it. The ones that have seen it have done their research. I will say, okay. But at the time, social media was active. Whatever communication comes from the office of the president, you will not only put it on the news, but you will put it on your social media, the page of the president.
Yeah.
If anything comes out, any big stuff, which is obviously good for the government, you will not only put it in the papers or news, but it will also be on your social media. Vacancy announcement, we've seen even the Ministry of Justice have been doing that now. They've been using their social media to do vacancy announcement because that's where majority of the Gambians will follow news.
Yeah.
So it also will not have harm if you use your social media platform and then put it out. The record will have been there, so no one will actually be saying you did not do what was expected. And I totally agree with you. And I think to be fair with the buyers. And I've seen people also attacking the buyers. And that should not have been the case. The buyers are just customers. Dafa mel ni nga dem marché tey ñu ne la lii nga jaay nga jënd. Ku koy jaay, the focus will be on that person.
On the sellers,
You understand? Except where I know that Fatu is the one that is selling. Fatu told me about the cars and then brought down the value for Marr and come through Marr and then buy. That is where the interest now should be. That's where the focus should be. And like I said, you need to follow the money to be able to establish all of those facts. But for the businesses, I mean, I was asked the same question today by my staff when we were going through the list. I said, they have nothing. They are not the one that we are selling. It was said it was here, and they came. Now, whether they were called, then that's where the problem is going to be. If they were called and informed, that will have been an undue advantage. Which is not going to be right. So the manner was obviously the transparency was limited, and these vehicles, they were stationed in different places. There were some that were at the Kotu workshop. There were others that were at police stations. So they were scattered everywhere. Right? Now, even if they were in those places, you say, okay, there's going to be auction of so-and-so vehicles at Kotu police station from this time to that time. Interested bidders should come and then bid. And then the vehicles are going to be disposed as it is. That's what should have been done. You understand? Now people come, whoever wants to buy, you can come up with your mechanic and then turn on the car and then see advice of your mechanic, and then you go away with it. But obviously, one thing Lute held. Mustafa reported there were about 458 vehicles that were disposed.
458, okay.
That were sold. And the revenue made out of those were $45 million.
458.
But mind you, the ISC vehicles that were bought were less than 90. And they were bought for over $700 million. Let people do the math. OIC vehicles were bought for about over 700 million, and these were just less than 90 vehicles. 458 Jamel luxurious vehicles, the scraps or non-scraps,
for $45
million.
So
now
this was 2018 and this one is 2025. So, justification.
Well, this is why we need to look at these numbers. Was it not going to be possible, even those Hummers, if we knew the OIC was going to come? First we did say that you could have used the GPTC bus, the luxurious bus, to transport the attendees, because we didn't have much president. We were only 6 presidents. The others, they could have used the bus. If that was not possible, why not you use Jammeh's assets?
Te Jammeh moto bim fi am president boko jox dina ci duga. Jammeh was living large. He had luxurious vehicles, and that is the sad part. All of these vehicles were buying from ministries and government agencies. We could have used most of Jammeh's assets, you have the new phone, new dugalensi system be, and save those monies for other things. But I think it was a big.
And for me, if you see me asking for people to ask people to do the math, it's because not because those are OIC, the Land Cruiser were new vehicles and they were bought at a higher price. All right, the government is saying about 6 to 7 million, others are saying 12 million, whatever the price may be. The government bought it at an exorbitant amount. That was loss and wasteful expenditure at the side of government. Now, in disposing Jammeh's asset, when we could have recorded revenue to the state, it's a loss of revenue. So we spend exorbitantly in buying cars, but loss of revenue in disposing Jammeh's assets. Common sense. So it's for the people to make these decisions and then ask the relevant questions.
Do you think the National Assembly will do justice to the investigation? The reason why I ask this, we have seen the AKI. I don't know, fun at all. They took over these investigations, not any tangible outcome. Recently, the saga of the petrol, the Russian, the crude oil saga, when the Republic came out with the story and they was pinpointing at the State House, investigation bidega to loco. That's the fact. Now, a lot of people are concerned that, number one, the investigation is going to be led by the government's National Assembly members. Now, we applaud them for even thinking about that. But how transparent, how exhaustive is it going to be? Because that is key. It's not just about having an investigation. Now, if they are calling for an extraordinary session, it's going to cost us, the taxpayers, a lot of money. And that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
To be honest, that shouldn't be. They are calling an extraordinary session. They are going to pay themselves allowances, sitting allowance for every day they sit.
Including meals.
Including meals and everything. And nañ konté courant yépp because assembly bi dafa taal yooyu yépp bokk na ci waaye dañ leen a fay pour ñu toog sax ñu defal ñu investigation boobu. So that itself is costing us a lot of money when we should not have gotten there. Now, if you are going to do this, we have seen what nothing came out of other investigations. Are you hopeful? What should be our question to this assembly? What should the assembly do? Are you hopeful that they are going to do right by the Gambian people?
I would just give them the benefit of the doubt. Xam naa ñu si daan ne wax ne the same person advocating for constitution that trusted the National Assembly. But it was the same thing. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt on the constitution that they will do what is expected of them.
Yeah.
I will also still give them the benefit of the doubt that they will do what is expected of them.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's for the public to put pressure on National Assembly, number one. Number two, to provide the National Assembly with the relevant information aside from what is out there, because there are certain bias that also wanted to clarify stuff. If they have parliamentarians, they should give them those evidences. So I am also working with parliamentarians. What we could do from our end, we will also do from our end to support them. Yes, you are right. Some of the investigation has just fell in the woods.
All of them. Ban mo si ba? Name me benn boo xam ne gis nañ results bu correct. Anamu?
Yeah.
AKI nga xam ne ay nit ñoo si dee.
Including the ecology.
The ecology.
You know, yes. And then the petroleum saga, the AKI. And then yes, these are issues that
even the petition for the ports. Yes. Then you do investigation.
Yeah. So I mean, unfortunately for the National Assembly, this is not going to be like other cases because this is public interest. Yeah. There has been immense public interest. They know when they go out, they're going to be arrested. Like you said, the police are arresting them and take us all together. Yeah. So the same thing with the National Assembly. The fundamental didn't says about this. This is not politics. This has united every single facet of this country. Yeah. You understand? So unfortunately for them, they have no choice but to do what is right. And the public is going to continue. The gala is going to encourage them to continue this and monitor. And the media to also keep asking the question every now and then. So I think the National Assembly will not have any choice but to do what is expected of them. And if they're going to throw it in the woods, people will pick it back from the woods and then bring it back again so that they cannot give the answers. Let it not be politics as usual, right? That, okay, because it's now heated, now someone is taking up the stance. We have to celebrate that. And the fact that it's coming from the majority leader, we have to celebrate that, and then we have to tell the majority leader that we are watching. Whether you are doing this for political points or you really meant this. And for the NPP folks, whether they really meant for accountability, whether they really meant for anti-corruption. The same thing, because there's going to be unity in this.
But also the opposition too, because for me, I think we also need to call them also to be, you know, we also need to speak to them, because I have seen some of them saying, oh no, because we have been calling for this. Yes, you have been calling for this. To be fair to the opposition, they've been calling, they've been asking the minister these questions, and the majority side have been rubbishing it. But the fact that now this is an active investigation, let's forget about that. Let's concentrate on what is on the table. They have to also come out and give it everything. Just because it's coming from the majority side, don't rubbish it. Work with them and let's get something tangible for the Gambian people.
Yeah, I think and believe the interest should be more within the opposition than the ruling party.
Okay.
But the fact that this is actually going to be uniting the parliamentarians for a common objective, which is accountability.
So? You think
yes,
so?
Because it is the interest of the APRC. They've been asking this question since they came into office.
Yes,
that is the APRC No to Alliance.
Yes.
And even the APRC that has formed coalition government with the current government.
Yeah.
They've also come out with their statement that they need answers.
Yeah.
PDOIS, obviously, they are pro accountability, and also the NPP are the one that brought this. Right? So we assume and give them the benefit of the doubt that they are interested in this and they will go all the way to the end. And the people are obviously watching. And the records are there. The information are there. People are going to be asking this question. So I think with their political differences, they're going to put that aside and then work towards this common good. If there's nothing, I don't even want to say nothing is going to come out of it. I am going to say something have to come out of this, and the public and the media have to put pressure, especially on the ruling party and the majority leader, and the majority party, which is the NPP, so that something come out of it. If not, it will be politics, and then they will be held accountable for that in 2027.
Now, we have seen the Gala movement. I mean, they are the darling of the nation. They have achieved what nobody has, to put so much pressure on government to get what they want. This is the first step. What should be their role going forward? And I think we all are being optimistic but also cautious. When movements like this happen, people try to take advantage of it. And sometimes people infiltrate them and try to divide them. What do you think this movement should be, and how should it move going forward? Because it's important, it's key. This could be something in this country, not to, for me, I would say not to be political, 100% apolitical. And if anybody has political agenda and you want to do it outside of this movement should be a pro anti-corruption, pro systematic change group where we demand for accountability. And if that happens, we're all part of it, because we are all part of that bigger civil society group where we want things that we can hold government accountable. But when there's politics attached to it, when there's other things attached to it, people will distance themselves, because there are people who cannot be actively in politics. And I think it's important to also speak on the existence of this group.
Yeah, I think we should not raise or have a lot of expectations about Gala, for the simple fact that it's a spontaneous group.
Yeah.
In advocacy, we call them spontaneous pressure groups. Pressure groups because the name itself is Gambians Against Looted Assets.
Yeah.
So the focus and interest is on this, right? In Nigeria, when police brutality was up, there was a movement called NSAS. So you don't hear them again.
Yeah.
And they were able to achieve achieve their goal, putting it out there, and then also accountability to take place. Unless you have movements, for example, like the Black Lives Matter, which will spread over any other issue where you bring the interest of the black people or any other group.
Like the Fadoy also, even though they were created for Nawek, but it became a movement because the Fadoy, anything that was, it was more of a pressure group, right?
It was a pressure group, and you look at Occupy Westfield at the time, even Sesnen last year, these are spontaneous groups.
Yeah.
What Gala has done, they have achieved their goal, which is they demanded for the publication of the list. That was the demand of Gala that has been achieved. Now the pressure should not be put on Gala. The pressure should be put on us and individuals and media organizations and experts to look into that. Gala has achieved their goal, and I don't think it will be unfair on them to put a lot of pressure, because all of them belong to a particular organization.
Yeah.
You understand? They have their own stuff going on. So now they have achieved their goal. It is for all of us now to look at the list and then start asking relevant questions. But more so as well, while we're doing that, we should also engage them on it. You understand, at their individual level. Because spontaneous groups comes for a particular cause, they achieve it and they move forward, right? So the ones that have been there working on these issues, because the victims organization have a stake in this.
Yeah.
Because the process of those
I have not heard from the victim center though about when this happened. Because, I mean, most of the Jame proceeds were, you know, they said they were going to give it to pay the victims, you know, for the violations of their rights and stuff. I've not even seen a statement from the victim center. Have you?
I know that the Solo Sanding Foundation have
the Solo Sanding, they have issued a statement.
Yes, they're very much you know, into this both in front and also in the background. I personally witnessed that, been working with them on this, so they've also been very much outstanding. AVLO chair, I guess.
But the victim center is the main umbrella group. Have you heard? We haven't heard from them.
Yes, now I think the victim center is under the AVLO.
Oh, okay.
Association of Victim-Led Organization, which is led by Auntie Sirandao. And Sirandao also, yesterday we were on a Twitter space.
Oh, the Twitter space.
And she was talking about it. So yes,
okay.
And then I think Imran also made this for it to be clear, because others are saying, why is it that victim organizations, why is that these organizations are not out there protesting? And he made it clear, not every organization is established to do protests. The youths have done what they have to do, other organizations now to take up what was there. You understand? The list has been published. People need, and that he is totally right. And I'm not here to do lecture on advocacy because of we have this, but we have two different type of advocates, right? In the civic space when it comes to civil liberties.
Yeah.
You have advocates and then you have activists.
Yeah.
Right. Activists will come spontaneously, advocate, and then to put issues out, achieve their goal, and go back to their normal life. They are just normal people within the society, and they come out on active issues, advocate for it, achieve their goal, and go back. Some of them are students, some of them are businessmen, some of them are ordinary citizens. Advocates are those that are established and they do their advocacy on issues when it comes to either government or anything that they have interest in. So that's why I say we should not put a lot of pressure on the gala and then say what next gala. It should be what next Gambia.
Yeah, what next Gambia.
You understand, on achieving the accountability.
One thing that this is Limo of India on so many things. The other thing that also came was the alleged meeting between the media council and Mustafa. You know, it was very sad to hear what transpired. And Mustafa, actually, I had heard about, because Mustafa had told me, because you know I was in contact with him. He had told me this before even the statement came, and I was shocked with what I heard. I do know that the media council, whenever we had issues, when people report us, we were reported to the media council a couple of times, and the media council will either write to us or will request for a meeting. I remember one of the meetings was here, and me being that stubborn, Uncle Pap, you court. So I remember, you know, they will reach out. To be fair to the media council, they will reach out and say, look, this is what's happening. We don't want to see journalists going to court. We want you to have an amicable conversation and stuff like that. They have done that with us and they have done that with other people, but normally the meetings will either be in their office or they will visit you. But normally it's just the media council members, right? Emily and Uncle Babukar. But in this case, Mustafa said he was invited by the council, but at the chairman of the Human Rights Commission's office. And I think, number one, for me, it was why at the chairman's office. But also, more interestingly, when Ba was asked by Peter whether he had reported this case to the media council, because the media council will only mediate when somebody files a complaint. But Ba, as we know, has not officially filed any complaint. I have not heard that on all the statements. I've not seen it. So if he had not filed a complaint to the media council, how did the negotiation, how was it initiated, number one? And also, how was the human rights chairperson involved? And then Mustafa saying it's their word against Mustafa's word. it was a very interesting and sticky position because I know all of these people. I can vouch for Mustafa. You know, I know Emily is a very good colleague. Babakar Cham is like my uncle. I've known him all these years. I've known Emily when I was at GRTS all these years. So it's a very difficult and tough position. But for me, the problem here is not even what was said there, but honestly, where the meeting happened. Why the Human Rights Commission? You know, let's forget about the content, but why the Human Rights Commission? What did Bar file a complaint at the Media Council? These are things we should also look at. What did you think of that? Because if that content that was said, if that was true, that is very serious. Now, but like I said, we don't know what happened. Is this person's vote against this person? But then the entire scenario, what happened? The meeting.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, loaded too.
Yes, it's loaded.
Yes.
You are a journalist. You're an expert. You know this more than I. I'm not a journalist.
Yes, I know the process.
Yes, you know this process. I don't. I
because I was summoned a couple of times.
Yes.
Two.
Yes. So you know this more than I definitely do. I don't know much about the Media Council. The journalists they know about it. You know, and I don't know what their process are. Whether if these things happen, there is a defined place where this meeting should be held. I don't know about that unless the Media Council come in and explain that. The involvement of the NHRC, I think they also came out with their report about it. I think they
came, but I was live when the NHRC, you know, their statement came because the GPU statement specified what happened and the meeting place and everything. But NHSR came out, they did not tell us that the chairman was involved in that meeting and why he was involved, because this was a Media Council issue. The Media Council has a committee which the NHSR chair is not part of, number one. Number two, they did not address whether the content of what these people said was true or not. They didn't even address that. So for me, in fact, I respect the Media Council statement because they came out and told us they categorically distanced themselves from the GPU statement and said all of these allegations were not true. They have a role which is to mediate, which is true. Yeah. The Media Council has a role. They mediate. They have done it with all of us. They mediate. Now, the content of the mediation, I don't know, and I might disagree if that's what happened there. That is totally wrong. But at least their role there is to mediate. If this person had filed. Now, if that person had filed, we have no evidence of that. And Bar did not say that he had filed. So maybe they took it on themselves. But the NHRC, they are supposed to be the referee for all of us. Because when the president called us out, we wrote to them. The media, they are supposed to protect everybody's rights. Now, if they are not part of the Media Council, how did they become part of this meeting? And that is the issue. And for me, my issue with their statement was they did not address anything the GPU said. All they said was they want to for people to have trust, continue to have faith in them. They will continue to do their job without fear or favor. They did not address the allegations directly, whether the meeting happened, whether the chairman was there, and what was the reason for that. And that we need to make them clear, because these people are the, you know, they hate ñom ñep mom lañ dé yakar su mété ñom lañ dé dem pour ñu até ñu ak whoever kuñ joté. So if these serious allegations are leveled against their chairman, and I must say I have so much respect for him, man of high character, right? I've known him when I was 18, 19 years la ko xam mu ñëw GRTS bi ñoo nekk xalé nekk GRTS. So how mako ci ñaka jubadi. But if these allegations come, they should have addressed those allegations heads on. For the integrity, they just cannot tell us the council, you know, integrity is in check. Ni la ak ni. No, ñun waxuñ council bi, ñun chairman bi lañ wax ne moo nekkoon ci meeting bi. So I think they should have addressed heads on the allegations. You know, I think that was something that they did not do. The Media Council, though, they did address it. Ne loolu amut lii ak lii li ngeen wax du dëgg lii ak lii amut ñun suñu rôle lañ doon def nii now nga gom ko gomuloo ko at least ñoom address nañ ko. But the HRC did not. And that is something that was really concerning for me.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the issues, but like I said, You know the things that you explain. You know more than I think. Maybe what should be done is to invite the chair and then the media council. And
I will try to call the media council. Emil is my brother. Like, we'll call them and talk to them.
You've been into journalism space more than God knows. You're expert in this, so you know this more than I do.
Then you there or quarter deck. And most of the time it's always nice. They will call you because they will call you and tell you, you know what, try to negotiate, look at your facts. Sometimes we also make mistakes. They will tell you, look at your facts, and if it's something wrong, address it and apologize more, get them court, so they will give you those guidance. So for them, I can say they are within their role to do that, you know, and now the content, like I said, I have no idea. This is this person against this person. So, you know.
The NHRC, and I mean, I didn't even know, honestly speaking, we cannot know everything about governance. I didn't even know that the media council exists because I'm not into that space.
I know.
So when this thing came, that's when I started reading. But like you said, yes, Emily is a person with high integrity. I've worked with him when he was with GPU at the time, Civil Society Media Collaboration, and that's how I got to know him. The NHRC, obviously, they're one of the independent institutions. Even when the youths are arrested, even when the youths were arrested as well, their people were there. So for Emmanuel as well, chairman,
he's a very
he's also a very, very, very honest and person with high integrity. Him and we are all infallible. So I don't really know what happened. You know these procedures. So I think, yes, if you were able to get the media council and Emmanuel and also Mustafa, I think then I would be more of a listener than.
I know. But if ever the content of that meeting, if that ever happened, I think that would have been a big red flag for all of us, because no person should be pressured into telling them to do certain things. But again, like I said, so finally, President Barrow, lan la war a def dafa war a wax ñun dafa war a noppi rek continuer nii ndax at least jox ñu assurance na muy def something ndax lii baax na nu ministre comme nim de Demba Sawale wax na rek baax na ndax.
No, I don't even want to comment on that. I want to comment on the other part, which is about the president.
The president.
The president has to comment, say, and guarantee people that accountability is going to happen. This narrative that, we have institutions and we allow the institutions to do their work, right? The institutions, the executive, the ones that you have appointed, they're also accountable to you. They will give you update. Just like the majority leader of the National Assembly came out and said, we're going to do this. So the public are now expecting what is going to happen.
But so hey, okay, come you get this investigation. Dafa affect investigations dafa after investigation.
The parliament is independent from the executive. Okay. That is a parliamentary inquiry.
Okay.
You understand? We've seen where government will do their inquiry. Parliament will also do their inquiry. Because the police was inquiring about this petroleum saga. That was the executive. The parliament also doing theirs. So the president will come and then tell the public that we take notice of the concerns that you have about this. Right? We will do the needful and our responsibility to make sure we go to the end of this and provide the public with the right information. That assurance and that statement should come from the president as the head of the state whenever there is crisis, because this is a crisis. Crisis that affects thousands of families, because the victims' families, the victim center alone, I believe they recorded over 2,000 victims. And all of these victims, they are also relatives. You understand? Not only related, but you have other people that are indirect victims. You have the direct victims and indirect victims as well. You understand? So thousands of people are affected with this, because there are those that were waiting for reparation. Some of them have now passed away. May their souls in peace. They have not received their reparations or redress until they pass away. Others are sick. Others are still with acute poverty. You understand? So if they're hearing all of these assets, proceeds of which will have benefited them, now benefiting those few that are already privileged. They have their good life going on. You understand? And they see no impact of those assets, of this person who have made it financial and human rights violation crimes on them, they did not see that, they are aggrieved. So we are under reconciliation. The truth have been established. Reparation and reconciliation is what has to happen for this society to be progressive. Now the president have to make that assurance, because they are the one that established the Yana Commission. They are the one that established the Truth Commission. And now this has to do with the victims. This has to do with our transitional justice process. Our TJ process has not completed. So the president has to make that assurance to the victims. They're watching. Number two, he owe it to the public. Accountability, he owe it to the public, because the public voted the same thing that Demasawale is saying, that over 50% of the population voted for the president. Yes, but the same 50% or more are demanding for transparency. So let them not forget about that too. So that is the responsibility of the government, to provide transparency and accountability. So the president has to come, because it's a national crisis. National crisis in a sense, the whole country came out and they started protesting. If the youth were not released, they were going to continue to protest. And something might have happened which we might not want it, because it is through this, when people come out for genuine cause, you see others that will infiltrate. Yes, and that is not the objective of this. So to put this to an end, the president has to come out, because he has established a commission. I mean, he has established an investigation when Marr Nyang of Social Security was accused. If you can do that to someone else who was doing right at Social Security, you could also do it for alleged corruption that are associated with assets that belong to the state, and they are sold at unbelievable prices. That is a loss of revenue to the state. And yes, he has to come. He's not going to preempt any investigation, because when they were establishing the Commission, they did talk about it. The same thing with the Commission of Inquiry, I mean the TRC, they did talk about it. The AKI, they did talk about it. So these two,
they need to talk.
They have to talk about it.
Marr, to be especially the young people of the Gambia, they have made us all proud. ñun fu mu ne nii nekkatuñ si youth bracket bi, yéen a nekk si youth bracket bi.
man génn naa si léegi màgget laa léegi.
am na ku ma woo mu ne ma Marr mag la ma ne ko Marr xale bu ndaw la ma ne ko bul dee gis mbaxanaam yi dafa bëgg fi mag rek.
ma xale de mag
ma ne ko bul dee xool
magum jëmm la.
ñun fu mu ne nii ñun génn si youth bracket waaye ñu ngi leen a gunge waaye ñun we refuse to get old ñun si youth bi bari.
man am old already, so please do not count me.
ñun dañ bañ de ñu man moom dama bañ Marr. But what's the message to the young people of this country, especially with everything that happened over the weekend?
Well, I wanted to say that we're very proud of something is that we have not seen since 2017. Youth that are organized for a common goal. The support that the youth have given to this gala, they have not given the same support to Dafadoy, not Occupy Westfield, not even Sesnin. This was the cause that united every facet of this country. So we wanted to appreciate the young people that, look, and then for those that are saying that youths are divided, this is a clear message that there is unity within the youth. And there were also the millennials, the Gen Zs, and even the baby boomers all came and supported these young people that have been calling for accountability. And then it is for me that has been working for this anti-corruption work for a very long time, mobilizing, training civil society, activists, and media on anti-corruption. It made me proud that the whole country is united against corruption, meaning the country is not going to condone corruption. No matter what you do, you can use any law or what have you, the country is going to start against corruption, and they will achieve their goal to end corruption, because it's corruption that made us experience what we have experienced before. The Jammeh administration accused the Jawara administration of corruption, and they plotted that coup. And they were here for 22 years. The Barrow government and the coalition accused Jammeh of corruption, and we voted for them to end that corruption. So we are not going to allow corruption to continue. And we will not going. We were also saying we need to work with government to end this. And working with government means government also needs to come and then investigate those that are responsible of this. I said it in the beginning. Lu ñuul ci sow neex na ràññee. could read that list, you will know that there's something not right about it. So that is common sense. Unless you have prejudice when you were reading that. But if you read this with open mind, it's not about politics. The ones that are doing it, we don't know they are associated with any political party. We know that there is no way a roadworthy vehicle, a Hummer, will cost 20,000. There is no way a roadworthy Hyundai will cost 50,000. I mean, not 50,000, $5,000. So it's just common sense. So the government needs to do that. But lastly,
are we going to see a position paper from Gambia participate?
We did write
with the list. I mean the list.
We are asking me a good question. But yes, we are planning. You've put me on the spot, but I was not going to talk about it. And I said this yesterday as well. But I mean, we are planning to converge experts to look at the list and then start and make our own analysis, right? And then come out and ask for the right questions, right? For every single asset that has been disposed. That is our plan. Not position paper only, but that is our plan, and that's the approach that we're actually working towards. But I also wanted to really appreciate. There are so many people. I came here and I said I'm tired. If it was not this program and my staff meeting, I would not be working today. But there are people that are I didn't do anything. The youth that were at the monument, and there are certain people that have been moving every now and then, day in, day out, during the day, during the night, distributing food, being there. I mean, families, friends, sometimes even nobody. That they don't even know the prisoners, but they will go and then support them. So there's so much work. The lawyers, you know, the media organizations that have been given this momentum, and that's why I said I don't want to specifically name this. I did in the beginning, but there are just hundreds of people that have been behind the scene, in front of the scene, that have been doing this with political differences, and they were united. So I was really, that was for me the takeaway, right? The unity that I have seen in Gambians, and I keep saying this before, that our problem is we are not united. But they have proved me wrong on this. I keep saying we are not united when it comes to national issues, but they've proved me wrong on anti-corruption, that we are united on this. And anyone that is saying that Gambians are united, you will be proved wrong, just like I have been proved wrong about other issues like the constitution, and then you name it. But this is what we were looking for, and maybe this is the game changer. The youth united, and once the youth are united, they're going to unite the younger generation, which is Gen Z, the baby boomers, and then even the elderly population. That was the missing link, and now we've seen the missing link. I think we now have to be firm in our position and avoid any political division. When it comes to politics, we all can go and do our politics, but let's be united for a common purpose.
And finally, before I go, I'm just wanted to say this. I just saw a picture of some of the members of the gala leaders with their loyal, I mean, LS Kamara and Nene Frida, Babukar Nyang, Saibo Kamara. I see Nani, Babukar Nani, see Lamin Kura.
He also has been outstanding.
Oh my God, he's been Nani and Kemo Fati, they've been outstanding. So Kemo is not on the list on this picture. They is saying that they have met with the Gambia Police Force to address issues of their recent arrest, and they are also going to plan a press conference to talk about their next step in the anti-corruption campaign. So they met with the police. So hopefully we'll hear from them very soon as to what they're about to do, what they're going to do, and what is the next plan.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, I was updated about the outcome this morning. But lastly, I wanted to send this message to the police that youths are not enemies to the state. Youths are not disrespectful to the police. Right? We've seen what happened. So this is a call for collaboration, call for dialogue, call for understanding. When I was at the police station on Thursday, I spoke to the commissioner of Banjul, and I told her that we need to talk. The police and the youth needs to talk. So we established a common ground. Maybe there's a perception that the youth have against the police, and there's also a perception that the police have against the youth. And that have to be cleared. We want Gambia to be peaceful. Today, if anything happens to the country, the consequence we're all going to feel it. The economy, the access to certain services, we're all going to feel it. We don't want that to happen. You understand? So we wanted to talk with the police.
Yeah.
Right? And then say whenever we wanted to do a protest, be rest assured of the peaceful nature of our demonstration. And the police also tell us, it could be a closed door conversation. The police tell us what is it that they have held or perceive us, right? And these things be clear, and then we move forward. If not, really, the unexpected will happen, and we don't want that.
We don't want that. And the cause that they are fighting for is for the police. I saw that I saw Killer Ace when they were putting these people in the van at the police station. He said, "Look, we nangu ñu use land. Ñun lu ñoo xeex pour yéen lañ." And that was true. If those resources that people are stealing from our coffers are properly managed, the police will have a race. They will have better equipment. They have better working conditions. So you are indirectly working for all other civil servants who are paid. You want a better living condition for them. But you're also doing this for yourself because you want better services from your government. So indirectly, all this fight that these young people and other anti-corruption campaigners are doing is for every Gambian, because they're doing it indirectly to support you who are working directly on the government, but us who benefit from the services of government.
And maybe when those processes are well managed, it will have in fact increased the salaries of the police, because they so get 4 p.m. You see the soldiers and the police. None of their seniors will do that. So we've seen that happening here. Obviously, the responsibilities are different. We don't expect the senior leaders to be doing that. But the fight is for Gambia, and that also includes the police. We know how underpaid they are. We know that there are certain services and I mean privilege that they do not have. A police that is now building a family wants to move out of their extended family to have access to rented apartments. The salary does not allow you to live that life. So I mean, Senegal, we've seen how they pay in their security officials. Ghana, we've seen that. We want the same thing for our Gambian security officers. How do we achieve that? Is through this, and then we want them to know that, right? So for me, I think that's all.
That's important. Thank you very much, Marr. And I think this conversation should continue. It should not stop here. We will bring more people to look at this report, and also to look at I want to bring a lawyer. Hopefully, Mangeto for Aziz Bensouda Munyo, you look at this, the Public Order Act, but also look at the commission procedures, and also, but obviously, Mumtam Fok Munyo, but there are so many things. Nobody can say, Ami Bensouda, maybe, Ami Bensouda Nehota Am. I saw me Aziz Sain, na Aziz jëndana na Talib jëndana ndax keneen jënd na si family bi, because the conflict of interest we're talking about in other areas also, we should also have them to address it. So hopefully I'll be able to get him, I mean, look at as an expert first, to look at obviously procedures of the commission and all that stuff, and then also look at personally from their end, because obviously their mother was the lead counsel, and obviously I really love to have her because she's I love her. I admire her. She's a great asset to this nation. And hopefully one day she'll be able to speak to us and look at all of these things. One person talks about corner joy. So if you see people go through that, sometimes you think about it as well. But at the end of the day, I guess they've been in the system for all these years, so they know how these things work. But yeah.
Well, I have huge respect for that family.
I do. Too.
And the wife of Aziz Bensouda, my career started through her, Lubna Faraj. So my interest in this law and orders all started while she gave me that opportunity. And obviously, I will thank Biba Musa, my mentor, and Mauda, who actually facilitated. So I actually have huge respect for that. I mean, obviously, because of Lubna.
Yeah. Aziz is my lawyer, doctor.
Okay.
But but yeah, but I really wanted to look at the lawyers. there are few people, lawyers, knew they were feel. I mean, Jada, when you know, we looked at it. So I want to have either Aziz or Abdullah, Sal, Sal, I think he's in Dakar.
Yeah.
So, they were. So there are just few people knew they were. Masi Lavin Kamara, you see, court me. Weekend,
and he was sick, by the way.
He was sick.
He was sick. Yeah. Because you Saturday, ban nekon si fofu non nen frère ko call explain what is happening si sasi mu ne mu ngi si kaw lal non la febaré jog ñew so motam ma ne am na gaynde yu doon liggéey fii nii ba yu doon yeah te kenn fayu leen dara
they try pro bono they try trop honestly and we want to thank all of them because this is not just the cause of the young people because ñun ñëpp la at that point ñun ñëpp dañ teg suñ hearts of being a journalist or anything we all became Gambians and kula xam yow sama sto de duga si you try to be always neutral in stuff like this but at that day
I cannot be neutral. I can't be neutral with that.
You were all over your life. I'm like ma tey mom nekkuloo ati corruption campaign tey youth activist nga but then it crossed across dama gis ñoo xam ne support of Barrow ñoo xam ne ma gis leen I was like no this is serious. This only shows that the young people are united and lii dañ ko bañ ñëpp ko bañ and I think loolu lañ war a demee suñu demee si politique ñu politique waaye bu nekkee loo xam ne si réew mi la ñu jóg si ñu taxaw si and I think that is one thing boo xam ne ñun ñëpp rafetlu nañ ko. Thank you very much Marr and I'll be back on Thursday inshallah with another guest until we come your way again. Good night to you. Hopefully Aziz or I will have members of Gala at least déglu leen wax ak ñoom said what is going on but we'll see what goes on but I'll be back on Thursday inshallah. Good night to you all. See you again. Bye-bye.
National Council for Civic Education hino andina jama on wondema lamu Gambia ngon immintini fi moƴƴingol luwa ka nder leydi ɗo ko wiyete a new draft constitution bill 2024 o ɗo waɗama gazette 14 lewru august kanyuma e 15 lewru november 2024 no windori ni ka 1997 constitution toɓɓere makko 126 luwa on joni ko wallinteɗo ka suudu députéɓe fi yewɗo ka nder suudu députéɓe non bill on jangugol makko immongol e tammongol ko ma e nder temdere kala e députéɓe 75 wiya kañum jaɓi si luwa on feƴƴi ɗon joni o yahay ka damugal kippugal fi waɗugol carte ka nder leydi ɗo woni IEC ɓe waɗa ko wiyete référendum e nder lebbi jeego e nder on référendum ɓe jogiiɓe carte fi wotugol temedere e nder ɓen ɗon 50 ko ma bugo kartal fi oɗo bill e nder on 50 kadi 75 e nder maɓɓe ko ma wiya kañum jaɓi fiyo oɗo wonu luwa ka nder leydi Gambia ɗo on sumati noon lanɗo leydi on o waɗa sign ko wiyete certificate ko immorta ka IEC fi ɗum ɗo wona luwa leydi Gambia e dow ɗum ɗo National Council for Civic Education hino toro jama on ɓe yalta ɓe heɗito ɓe ɓeyda konngudi maɓɓe e o luwa wonaɗo moƴƴinede ka nder leydi Gambia ɗo addani on o kibar ko ɗum woni National Council for Civic Education e ɓe gollidata waɓe wa European Union inde Gambia kañuma e UNDP wonɓe nder leydi Gambia.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and approved services. Visit our head office at Bruceby opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
National Council for Civic Education NCCE ñooy fàttali askan wi ne nguuri Gambia delloosiwaat nañ beesalaat téere luwaa réew mi tax na ba téere luwaa réew bu bees bi nga xam ne moom lañ xaatim ngir atum 2024 siiwaloon nañ ko ci kayiti xibaari nguur gi ñaari yoon muy fukki fan ak ñeneen ci weeri August ak fukki fan ak juróom ci weeri November atum 2024 jéego yu am solo yooyu nag jëloon nañ ko balaa ñu ko teewal ci néegi député yi comme niñ ko tëralee rek ci fànn bi ñoo wax section 226 bu 1997 ci téere luwaa bi nga xam ne moom la réew mi di doxee ca néegi député yi nag téere bi ñoo war a def luwaa ci ñaareel ak ñetteeli yoon yiñ ko fa teewal yépp war naa nekk ne xaaji téeméer bu nekk ci député yi juróom-ñaar fukk yi ak juróom war nañu cee ànd yokkat itam ne bu jaaree ba romba ci néegi député yi dinañ ko yóbbu ci bunta bi nga xam ne ñooy saytu wàlli woote ci biir réew mi muy IEC ngir ñu taxawal li ñoo wax référendum maanaam woote bañ wala nangu muy waaw wala déet ci diiru juróom-benni weer ba léegi référendum boobu ñi nga xam ne ñoom la yoon may pour ñu woote xaaji téeméer bu ci nekk juróom fukk yi war nañoo bokk te ci biir ñooñuy tamit xaaji téeméer bu ci nekk juróom-ñaar fukk yi ak juróom war nañoo ànd ci téere loi réew moomu nga xam ne moom lañ xaatim bu ko defee nag njiiti réew mi mu di président bi dina ko sign ci diiri juróom-ñaari fan gannaaw bu ko IEC wéralee ngir mu nekk téere loi bi nga xam ne moom la réew mi di doxee ci kaw loolu ngir askan wi xam ba pare bokk ci lu am solo la ngir bokk benn kàddu boo xam ne ñii amee baati dogal ci biir réew mi dinañ mun a matal seen liggéey loolu tax na ba nag NCCE ñu ngi xirtal ñépp ñu bokk ci wéyal li nga xam ne moo di seen taxawaay ci ndorte li ba ca ci pandaw la xibaar gi nag ñi leen ko indil ñoo di NCCE ànd ci ak EU ak UNDP bu Gambia